Hey everyone, it's Brian here at Comics and Culture. Just gonna take a look at the old comic codes, Frederick Wertham, really. This is a great book. It's the Skywald Horror Mood. It's by Alan Heweston, although I believe he passed away before it actually made it out. Has this cool reimagination of a Pablo Marquez cover by Pablo Marquez, which is great. But let me just go inside real quick. Has stories reprinted from the Psycho, Skywald, Horror Mood, and also a lot of information and all. It's really a good book. So, this was a story of the comics macabre. What it is, we had Frederick Wertham and the Senators all, and they're coming back. They're mad that now comics have made a return in the 60s and 70s. This came out in the early 70s with your Warren with their creepy and just all the magazines, even the loosening of the comics code, bringing back witches and all that good stuff to like DC with their great House of Secrets and all that. But it's just, we don't have an alternative. The guy is setting things back 20 years. He's got to be stopped. Remember the fuss I caused in those days when I wrote that stuff about how comics were disturbing young minds and inciting crime? Parents ripped their kids' comics and ordered them to stop reading and to pay attention to important things like television. They listened. Oh yes, I remember, Doctor. I remember how we set up the Censorship Bureau, forcing all the horror comics out of business. And on it goes. They get in to meet with. They're showing some of the horrible stuff that happened. Guys putting their wives into garbage disposals, and criminals have a jump on a crippled man, and just some of the wonderful stories that were a little horrible. So they go in. Alan Heweston is happy to meet with them, and they explain to him his stories are horrible. Look at what he's doing. And he tries to explain, well, comics aren't to blame. You know, the few kids that do make a mistake, they would have done it anyway. 99% of our readers, it's just imagination, and people have been reading and telling horror stories, and stories such as that, even back into the Bible has some horrible stories in that such. But they can't have it. That's not a good answer. You must stop writing it. What have you all gone mad? Rah! He must die. Smash, smash, smash. We've got him. We killed him. Then suddenly, they killed him. Why would they kill him? Where are those little voices coming from? Oh, it's happened again. You killed us 20 years ago. Not again. Must cleanse the world of the like of you. You killed us, but you didn't bury us. We will bury you. You are the monsters. You think the readers don't know a story? You killed our master. Now you must die, die, die. Dun, 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 dun. Al Heweston, with his neat personality, decided to send a copy of that to Dr. Frederick Wertham. And apparently a very good relationship came out, as you'll learn in the book here. I'm not going to give up the whole book, but pretty neat. He had his own ideas. He says later on it's not really what he meant to do, but of course when mistakes happen, people always say, well, of course I didn't mean that in that way. But here's the man, Dr. Wertham, as we know. Not his code, but the code that was approved by the comics companies themselves. They had a lot in doing with censoring themselves just to get rid of some competition. So there's a whole story in this thing. Dr. Wertham, again, in the early 70s, sitting in his study. Dr. Wertham was a lover of sequential. He loved art. He had all the old, like, Bern Hogarth and the Tarzan and the daily strips. He didn't like comic books, but he did like his own stuff. And he was a book collector. And his famous book, Seduction of the Innocent. Here we have a copy. Seduction of the Innocent. Let me bring him over. Still has the dust cover. Not the best of shape on a dust cover, but the book is actually in really good shape. Let me open her up here. Get to the center. Sorry. Here we have a comic book baseball game. Notice the chest protector and other details in text and pictures. This was, of course, Jack Davis, who became the world's most famous caricature artist, I believe. He was on Time and, everywhere, from Mad Magazine, of course, back to the day when they started, but just everywhere. But he said he was actually bothered. He never liked to do the horror in the end, so he never even went back to doing it. And then another full page here. Cover of a children's comic book. This was Johnny Craig. Now, he did like the horror. I think he understood that, you know, you read what you want. You don't have to read something. You see the broken neck. He was a master at it. Apparently, it took him a long time to do his art, as I've learned from reading books about him. But when he did it, boy, was it good. You know, this was a Crime and Punishment, Lev Gleason, I believe. Or Crime Does Not Pay, Lev Gleason, I believe. Yes, Mary Kennedy, you try to square things with the big box. Put the needle down. No! Well, little rough, but most, as a parent, you let your children have what their age available. You try to watch your children. Things should be all right. You know, there's always time for a good spanking. Erotic spanking in a Western comic. With plenty to offer. Indeed. Lousy, filthy, I'll tear ya. Children are first shocked and then desensitized by this brutality. I'll teach you to do as you're told. The title of this comic is First Love. And in the end, she probably realizes that what this guy is wrong and gets with the guy who is gentle to her. But we don't see the end. Oh, to wish to hurt or kill people in lovers' lanes is not uncommon perversion. Or just it's scary when you think, oh, I like to be alone with my girl. Oh, what if someone came there? It's scary. To develop a scary situation, you need a scary situation. Stomping on the face is a form of brutality which modern children learn early. I believe stomping on the face goes back to the days of the Bible if someone was angry at someone. But anyways, like I said, these are all my opinions completely. The old crime detective. Character of the author in a position comic book publishers wish he were in permanently. So even in the 50s, Dr. Frederick Wertham was hoped to be censored in the way he wanted to censor. Here they call him Dr. M. Brown, but even he knew it was about him because he put it in his book. A girl raped and murdered. I'm not sure which one this is actually from, but I would love to know if they actually say she was raped. I mean, obviously she's murdered. It says it. Jeepers, a dame, and she's been croaked. Maybe they're just imagining it, but it's hard to say. You know, some of these did go far. Children call these headlight comics. At least after this book came out, they did. And to this day, we call these headlight comics. I'm just fooling, but we know why. Some more violence. A lot of times, all these have been removed from the book. Now, I thought this was neat. Corpses of colored people strung up by the wrists. Now, of course, colored people still drank at different fountains and all that, so I'm wondering how many other times they were worried about colored people's rights. You know, and I don't know about Dr. Wertham's position. I don't know what his feeling was on civil rights and all, so I'm not speaking of him in general. But just, you know, it was the Senate that brought up the whole issue and had that about the Comics Code, which forced the publishers to do what they did. So there was a lot of Republicans and all people, and people voted to keep, you know, civil rights as it was. So I'm just curious. Here they're upset that, you know, corpses of colored people are strung up. But at other times, I don't think they were too worried about colored people's rights. That's just another off point, something I was thinking about. This was from, of course, a fight magazine or something, so it was going to show you, just like today, you can buy a karate book. But, of course, vulnerable. Oh, how to hurt people. I remember this story. I forget exactly where it's from now. But see, it's in EC, I'm pretty sure. They pointed to the spot below Lon's chest, below the torn flesh and blood. A navel. He had a navel. Incredible. He was a mammal. They were all born in eggs or whatever, and because he was a mammal, he was different, so she killed him. So, of course, that's very interesting to them. A young woman, only because he was a mammal. Well, it actually made for a very good story, I remember. And, of course, the infamous Reform School Girl. I don't have a copy of that. I've been trying to get one in good condition, but they end up going for so high every time. I do have the old Teenage Dope Slaves and some of the others that are that I think are in that same little category. And then, in the very back, this is almost always gone, because not only do people take stuff out of these books, the biography was cut out by the actual publisher during the very first edition. So it's only the first, I'm not sure how many, it could have been a good bit or whatever, that got out that actually still have the bibliographical note, because you have Archie Comics. They ended up listing every comic, and it says these are names of the publishers on the comic books referred to in the text. So some of these people, they were worried, I think, would sue because they didn't even actually produce any of the horror or crime. Archie, I don't think, ever did. And, you know, there's others that absolutely did, but there's a ton. The funny thing I was reading, the fact is, there's about 200 publishers of just comic magazines. at the time when they did this book, right before it all imploded after the book came out. And there's Dr. Wertham younger. You know, just imagine that. Now, the kids did stop reading altogether, which, you know, was coming with television. I mean, with, yeah, the birth of TV and all. But, as you see, it's got the little funny guy. This is a first edition. But, that's about all. I'll see y'all next time.